Hey, what's up, y'all? How you guys doing? Happy Monday. I think it's a holiday. I don't know which one, bro. I don't pay attention to that kind of stuff. You guys see me. I'm sitting here in the lab, which is next to the kitchen. We are in the process of moving, doing other things. It doesn't matter. What we're in the process of really doing, though, is dominating the college football season. Week 1 is under our belt. Week 1 is done. It's in the books. And you see the scrolling chat down here, 64.29% in week 1 against the spread. Let me say something about that. It wasn't just against the spread. There's also 62.5% money line underdogs. I need you guys to understand what that means. That means I saw the line and I said, Vegas got it wrong. Vegas doesn't know that this team is better than this team. But I do, because I've evaluated the roster. I know the coaches. I know the teams. I know the players. And I trust my assessment. We're going to get this right. Let's take this underdog money line, and we won. It's amazing. It feels great. And shout out to all the MVPs out there. Patreon is enormous. Remember that bullshit rumor I was getting canceled on social media? Yeah, that doesn't exist, bro. Patreon is going through the roof. We're changing people's lives. You're changing my life. I'm so blessed. Shout out to the wonderful Kim Jones. She went out and got herself a Blackstone grill, 36 inches. Size matters. 36-inch Blackstone grill. And she got every nook and cranny you can get with it, bro. I got to build it, though. It just showed up to the house. Speaking of build it, there are so many programs trying to build things for this season, and it didn't all come to fruition in week 1. Okay, but some teams that really came through, we're going to talk about today. Today's episode is the ACC and Conference USA. They're equivalent to me. Every game matters because every game is a unit to me, or a potential unit gained. The big games don't always matter. You can make your money in the group of 5. That's what we do. Shout out to us. And if you guys don't know, I'm going to change the screen here so you guys can see. This is all about the Patreon. Go to Patreon, search RicoKnows. The link is in every single one of my videos here on YouTube. And you can go learn about things. There's the link to get to this show right here, right now. Here's a video. I already gave out my week 2 early picks. I put out the chart for the MVPs early. And it's about a 25-minute long video. And it'll change your life. Some people don't like watching the videos. They always go, hey, Rico, we just got a guy on the Discord server today, just about 30 minutes ago. He's like, hey, what's Rico's picks for tonight? Because tonight is Florida State and Boston College. And by the way, when you have an individual game, I took 25 minutes to break down this game. 25 minutes to break down this game. I gave out a pick for free. A free bet tonight. You can go tease it one way or the other, get to plus 100 money. Double your unit. It's free, bro. Everything you ever wanted to see is here at the Patreon. How about the UFC card on Friday? If you didn't know, my locks in the UFC are at 82%. What did I just say? 82%. And we're sitting here with an entire free fight card for you guys. I have at least 25% of my MVPs are on the server and on the platform because of my UFC predictions. That's what we do all offseason. If you don't know the UFC, that's fine. Show up. You'll learn. It's free money, bro. We got the infinite money glitch over here. And I'm doing this every Saturday. UFC's got a fight card every Saturday. By the way, we're going to live stream that card on the Discord server, on the stage for the MVPs. Become an MVP. Come watch the fights with me. Listen to my commentary. Listen to the live bet analysis. And I'm going to tell you everything you ever wanted to know about fighting. I've been fighting for like 20 years. If you didn't know, I'm the highest level fighter you can be in the United States Army. I'm a hand-to-hand combat instructor. I've been fighting martial arts for, I don't want to exaggerate, 21 years. I was going to say 22, but nonetheless. There's games all week long. They're here. Everything you ever wanted to see is on the Patreon. Please get there. Become a member. When you become a member, become an MVP. It's $25 a month. You then connect Patreon. You go to settings. You see this little settings button here? You can go to settings. On your app, you won't find it. It needs to be on a browser. That means you can just go to the website on your cell phone. Use the Safari web browser. Go to settings. You're looking for connected apps. connect it to the Discord server, authorize it, give it access, and then you get access to the Discord server. And shout out to the Discord server. It's right here. There's people watching the show right now from the stage. Shout out to the MVPs. But there are these channels in here with trophies on them. These are for MVP channels only. If you come to the Discord server and you're not green and you haven't connected, these dudes in white here, they don't see a damn thing. The dudes in green do, though. Billy Bands and Chosen One, they just showed up today. You see those greens? Those are MVPs. They can see all the good stuff. The UFC picks, the injury updates, parlay and prop ideas, and then this is what really matters. These two channels down here are my props and my picks for the entire week on everything. This is how we track all our results. Nobody's lying about anything. I know there's a guy out there lecturing the world about how RicoKnows is not very good at what he does. There's no way he's 60% against the spread in his lifetime. Over 400 games, yes I am. Oh, yes I am. I might even be higher. I potentially am higher. I remember I had 2 weeks back-to-back, 37%. If I didn't have those weeks, oh my goodness. It'd be amazing. People don't realize this. This is what we do, man. I pick games, and Vegas stands no chance. Speaking of standing no chance, there's this dude named Dalton Waserman. Via Dalton Waserman. They always quote via Dalton Waserman on Twitter. And this is PFF. They always interview some dude named Dalton. And I've let Dalton know. Just so you know, I said another Dalton Waserman failure. I've let him know. He doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. He said top 10 Heisman candidates, and this was before week 1. And he said Carson Beck, Dylan Gabriel, Jalen Milroe, Jackson Dart, Shedeur Sanders, Ollie Gordon, Quinshon Judkins, Travis Hunter, Garrett Green. And I immediately interrupted and I said, bro, no running backs are getting invited to New York. Shout out to Genty. He went out and rushed for 250 yards, 6 touchdowns. Rico, he's going to get to New York if he does that. No, and no again. I remember 2018. There were 3 running backs. J.K. Dobbins, Ohio State. But we're talking about Power 4, Power 5 teams. J.K. Dobbins, Ohio State. Who was it? Jonathan Taylor, Wisconsin. And Chuba Hubbard. All 3 of them were over 2,000 yards rushing. Not 1,600, which was Schrader last year, right? The kid out of Missouri. Every year there's a leading rusher. 1,800 yards. Never getting to New York. Never. And here we had, I remember 2018, 3 of them. Nobody's going to New York. Running backs don't make it, bro. So I told this guy, this is a terrible list. You have running backs on here. They'll never make it. I don't like this list. And I said, you better have Cam Ward, Noah Fafita, Quinn Ewers, and T-Mac. You let me know how that prediction is going after week 1. Somebody let me know. Because Cam Ward just blew the brakes off of a Power 4 team. I saw a lot of statistical halves, right? I saw a lot of great numbers in statistics from a lot of players. And they did it against inferior competition. They did it against the FCS or a vastly undermanned group of 5 team. Cam Ward did it to Florida in the swamp. And let me be clear. I had to hear all summer long from J.D. Pickle. I think that's his name, right? Pickle? Or Pate, Josh Pate. These dudes are paid to hype up a conference, to talk nonsense. I get paid to be accurate. I don't just talk out of turn. I got to be accurate or I lose MVPs. Accuracy is what validates me. There's not a paid sponsorship in the world. There's not a damn platform I'm trying to get on. There is no network I'm trying to get hired by. I'm self-employed. I love my life. And I'm accurate as hell. And there is no way, those guys are telling me Florida would win 9 games in another conference. Well, not in the ACC, mother flipper. Not against Miami. If they played Miami 10 times, they'd be 0-10. I told the world Miami is the 7th best team in the nation. And people laughed at me in the preseason polls. People attacked me all over Twitter. I don't put this type of content on TikTok anymore. I don't even deal with TikTok. TikTok doesn't pay me. They're not worth my time. But oh my goodness, was I right? And I'm going to stick to it. Shout out to me. Shout out to the ACC today. We're going to get to it. If you got questions, get them in the chat now while we get there. Here's another one. J.D. Pickle's bum ass. J.D. Pickle put out a top 10 quarterbacks in college football. Top 10 quarterbacks. Dudes like Will Howard on the list. Like we didn't just see Will Howard for an entire season at K-State. How do you lose your job at K-State or at least get pressured by a freshman and now you're magically top 10? Where are we coming up with this? I let them know. Another embarrassing take from these dudes. No Seth Hennigan is criminal. Shout out to Memphis. And Cam Ward is top 5. Noah Fafita is top 10. It's not a game out here. You got to know players. You got to know what you're doing. By the way, if you want to know my rankings, my information on teams, when you go to YouTube and you go to the homepage, do not click on videos. If you go to videos, yeah, you're going to find some videos. And you're going to go through and you're going to be sifting through a lot. I highly recommend you use the playlists. But this live tab right here is the magic. All right, if you're an MVP, you should be looking at posts, by the way. Posts are like all the messages I write to all the MVPs. Really important, okay? But the live tab is the magic. The live tab are all the past shows like the one you're watching now. And the live tab will show you all the different previews I had for every conference, the rankings of defensive players or defensive team rankings, preseason top 25, offensive rankings. You want to go back and learn about transfer portal, what I think of head coaches, all these questions you guys have, it's already been made. Top wide receiver cores for the entire season. Top 50 first-year starting quarterbacks. Top 25 sophomore running backs. Like, I have a ton of content for you to go learn about all the teams. And then the transfer portal episodes are here where I talked about every single transfer portal there ever was. Just go to the live tab, man. I'm trying to change your guys' life. There's a lot of injury updates. I'm going to go over them very quickly. One big one here. Well, nothing's really too big to me. It just happens, right? Brandon Spector here out for the season for Jacksonville State. Who cares? Jacksonville State doesn't even throw to their receivers. And I think they have the worst quarterback in America in Logan Smothers. But they have other good wide receivers on the bench. Like, they got a guy named Gerard. He's a Division II transfer. When I watch him on tape, Gerard Bowie, he's utterly great. And he can't get in the too deep at all. He's always listed 3rd or 4th string. And I don't know what that's about, man. My assessment is he should be in the starting lineup. I'm serious. I hope this injury leads to that. Another terrible injury is Alante Brown. This is the Nebraska transfer. Down again, man. He's out at least until November. When you watched him in the Michigan State game against FAU, he had more juice than all the other Michigan State weapons, if you will. If they had weapons, I don't know. They were shooting blanks out there. They looked terrible. Shout out to Aiden Childs. I'll talk about that tomorrow on the Big Ten episode. But he's out until November. So he'll be gone until November like Wyclef. If you don't know the reference, you probably don't remember 9/11. I can't mess with you. Darius Taylor, uncertain on the timeline. Dare I say Darius Taylor is just injury prone. He seems to be very fragile. Not dependable. They better figure that out, or it's going to be a long season without their best player. Because, make no mistake about it, he's their best player. Speaking of best player, Taj Brooks listed as questionable for week 2. Now, if you guys don't know injury reports, I don't want to insult anyone. Injury reports. I learned this as a sports writer. When I was a sports writer, I used to get all these injury reports for the NFL. And the NFL, we used to post them in the paper. And the people needed those for their fantasy football stuff. People needed those for gambling purposes. So I always posted the line for the NFL, and I never knew what any of it meant when I was younger. And I had to sit down with one of my sports editors, and he was like, oh, injury reports? Let me explain it to you. So now it's common knowledge. And I'm talking to a bunch of gamblers, so they know what it is. But I'll help you guys out. There is active for the game. Then there's something called probable. and probable is like 95% chance these guys are going to play. I very rarely see anybody with a probable injury rating not play. I can't even remember it. It's not even significant. If you see somebody probable, they're going to play. Okay, then there's questionable. And I got to be honest, questionable is straight up 50-50. 50-50, they're going to play. So you've got active, probable, questionable, and then the last two are doubtful and out. Obviously out, they're not playing. Doubtful, I swear to you, it's lower than 40%. It's got to be 25%. When I see doubtful, I already know that dude's not playing. So when you see this, Taj Brooks, it's a little scary for a couple reasons. First and foremost, I have a futures bet on Taj Brooks for seasonal yards. I really need him to play every game. That's a reality. And if he's questionable against week 2, that explains the spread, and I'll talk about that on the Big 12 day because the spread is pretty close with Texas Tech and their opponent. Next couple stuff, not a real big deal. Getting closer to week 2 depth. Will play week 2, Darius Lassiter. Okay, thank you very much. Those are the injury updates that I have so far. Let's talk about the ACC. Before I get into this, though, I'm going to jump over to the chat. I'm going to see if you guys have any questions. I will be going back and forth. If you have questions, put them in the chat. I'll get to them, and then we'll talk about results. We'll talk about this week's schedule or this week's game. And if it's not on the MVP chart, I will give you a prediction. I will give you a play or an idea of what's going to happen on the game. If it's on the MVP chart, I will not talk about it. If you want to know, watch the videos, become an MVP. But this is where we give out the free plays and kind of my idea of how things are going. Okay, that being said, let me jump over to the chat. And we're in the chat today. Sorry about that. Oof, I'm out here messing around. Let me do this real quick. I hate showing you guys how the sausage is made. That's never good. There we go. All right, interact. Scroll it up. Steve says, welcome in, hit that like button. If you guys don't know how to hit the like button on the show, you actually have to leave the show to hit the like button, or if you're on your phone, you can tap the screen. I think it gives you the option to like it, or you have to leave and then come back. I'd appreciate it if you left and came back and gave it a like, only because it helps with the algorithm. Just straight up. Thanks a lot. Gary Clark says, what up, Rico? What do we used to say? Hard dicks and helicopters. That's what's up. I'm good, man. I'm on a weight loss journey. Not weight loss journey, a fitness journey, if you will. I went out and we've been training in the gym really hard. Babe, how long have we been training in the gym now? 2-3 weeks? Yes. Couple of weeks, maybe 2 or 3 weeks. But I go ham in the gym. And today it was a holiday. We didn't know if the gym was open or not. So we decided to go out to the river, and we run a trail at the river. Go out there and put in some work at the river. And went out there and did a time trial this morning just to see where I'm at fitness-wise. I ran faster than I've run this year. It was the fastest I've run all year. Probably in a year, right, sweetie? Yeah, I think so. I was absolutely on fire this morning. I was so proud of myself. Ripped it, bro. Very, very happy. So that's what's up. I'm just grinding. Shout out to me. K-Saddy says, we ate Rico, let's go. Shout out to K-Saddy. I believe K-Saddy's an annual MVP member. Remember, if you want to be an MVP, you can join here on YouTube. Just hit the join button and you become an MVP. You get access to all the videos here on YouTube. And there are different playlists, like the MVP Locks playlist, and you can see all the plays and all the picks and all the charts and everything. But if you go to Patreon, the idea behind going to Patreon is you can become an annual member. You pay a reduced, you get some type of deal. I think it's like 15% off. It's a much better deal to go to Patreon. Shout out to K-Saddy. Thank you for supporting the channel. And yes, we ate. I want to say some MVPs didn't eat. Some MVPs don't know how to bet, bro. I'm watching MVPs on the Discord server losing their mind. Can I show you guys something? This is crazy. Let me show you guys something. I pick above 60% on the against the spread. But if you go to one of our channels on the server, let me pull this up for you guys. If you go to one of our channels on the server, it's called Bad Beats. And my God, do these dudes show up and did an 11-leg parlay with my picks. And he hit on everything. 11 legs. And then he missed on Arizona to cover the spread in the middle at the end of the night, at the end of the day. An 11-leg parlay. And these are the guys that quit being an MVP. They'll miss and go, hey, Rico doesn't know what he's doing. What? I get 60% right, and you're doing Well, this is 3 legs. I respect it. But some of these dudes are doing some amazing legs, bro. It's crazy. I'll never understand. It's Troy, dude. Troy's out here. Legs. This shit was wild. And they'll tell you, oh, I was so close. I only did 6 legs at $500. They must not like their money. There is no way you do this. This just looks wild to me. $100 to make 2,800. You don't need these types of numbers. My recommendation is get it to plus 100 and flip your unit, bro. Flip your unit. This is nuts. I'm going to get 60%. You can't do this. And this is what these guys are doing. Oh, man, I got a bad beat. No, bro. You're out of your damn mind. Look at UFC. I'm picking UFC fights. You know how many times I've gotten a UFC full card correct? I'm talking about the whole card. Once. And I do this for a living. And I picked the whole card money line one time. And these dudes are still betting, parlaying the whole thing. They're wild, dude. They don't care. They don't want to win. Let me show you these percentages to UFC fight cards. You're going to miss. Even when I do good. I'm pulling it in right here. Even when I do good, there, I've done it right there, 11-0. And the following week I was 12, and man, I was on a heater. I was locked in. But this is every single fight card for the whole year. For the whole year, every single fight card. You see the locks are at 82%. So if locks are at 82%, you're going to parlay fucking 7-8 fights? You're going to miss. They don't get it, man. I can't help them, bro. I can't help them. Let me tell you, I talk to these D-gens. I lecture them all the time. And they don't care. They just go out there and just, they're doing nonsense, bro. Utter nonsense. I ain't mad at them, though. They give me a job. Shout out to them. Yeah, but we ate, K-Saddy. I hope you ate, bro. I hope you ate. Shout out to you, man. And thank you for supporting the channel for the whole year. Hello from Jacksonville, Florida. Money, 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 money. Money. What up, Michael Felly? I got your message, man. You sent me a message. You said you appreciate what I'm doing. You know, sometimes you got to put your balls on the table, bro. That's me. I'm about that life. It's another season. Some people say I got lucky. A guy wrote, it's week 1. Rico did go 64% against the spread, but it's week 1. Somebody needs to tell that dude, I picked 400 games last year at 60%. 400 games. You better brace yourself, bro. If you're hating on me, you're on the wrong side of history. That's real. Chaz Crawford says, Rico, I know Vandy has good coaches, but how did they beat Virginia Tech? Was it a misassessment on their talent or bad coaching on Virginia Tech coaching staff? Chaz Crawford, I will explain it. I will explain it when I go over the results for the ACC games. Thank you for the question. I'm with you. Northwestern could barely beat Miami of Ohio. How are they 3-point favorites over a Duke team? We'll talk, Chaz Crawford. We'll talk. Yes, sir. Yo, Rico, I know this is off topic. Then why are you going there, Donnie? This is the ACC Conference USA episode, and he wants to know my thoughts on Fresno State. My thoughts on Fresno State are they're in the Mountain West, and I will talk about them on Friday. Keep pumping out the content. Ja'Cory Jackson, it's tough, man. I'll be working all day, y'all. This is not easy. I work all day. I'll be live streaming tonight for the Florida State game. I understand. You guys think I'm just sitting around watching football. It's not that easy. Sometimes I go on the stage on the Discord server, and I let the MVPs see the work I'm putting in. I got to go create this, go download this, got to go change this, convert this, do this, post it. It's work, man. It's work. I looked at Kim today and I said, hey, babe, everything in me wants to push away from the desk and just watch an episode of Prison Break with you. She has all these true crime documentaries. She has them all lined up in the queue, ready to watch, whether it be HBO, Netflix, whatever. Kim is just sitting there waiting to show me how we're going to get away with a murder, right? She's just trying to show me everything. And I'm so locked in on film. I'm so locked in on these rosters, these teams, results. The next video. I ain't got time, man. And I just make the list long, sweetie. I'll see you in the off season. That's how I get down. And I got the type of woman, she supports what I'm doing, obviously. This is my job. It's not a hobby. I'm not just getting off of work being lazy. I know some of you dudes sit on the couch eating Cheetos, no shirt on, Dorito dust in your belly button. I know you dudes are like that, man. I heard some of these dudes, we were talking about a weight loss journey. Homie said, I used to be as soon as I saw 3 bills, like, I lost 40. I want to say thank God. Congratulations. Could lose that weight. If you're over 300 pounds, you're watching me right now, bro, for this entire show, get on the treadmill. Every night, every time I'm on live, get on the treadmill and watch me while walking. Please, be active. I care about you. I don't want you to die. I want you guys to go to the store and look around. You don't see any obese 70, 80-year-olds. You don't. There's plenty of obese 30-year-olds. They don't exist, bro. You die. You die, and I won't come to your funeral. You die. I care about you. Keep working hard. I'm going to keep pumping out the content. Best show for football, they don't know, but Rico knows. Sean Gadsden. It's supposed to be your friends don't know. But yes, you have really good friends. If you're an MVP, you're surrounded by smart people. They know, except for the big homie. I got an argument with big homie today on the Discord server. He's an MVP. Shout out to him. Dude's talking wild. He thinks a 3-loss team will be in the top 10. It's very rare. Very rare for a 3-loss team to be in the top 10. Last time it happened, 2020 COVID, and then 2018. You get one team at most. Homie's thinking there's going to be 3-loss teams in the top 10. Not happening, man. It's just not a real thing. I've studied this. I think Pate is way better than the other guy. Don't even know his name. Oh, Johnny, I don't know any of their... Like, I say their names because I see them on Twitter. I've never watched an episode of anything they do. I've never watched... Babe, do I watch ESPN? Not a chance in hell I watch ESPN unless I'm trying to look at a live game. Nothing they're saying is going to teach me anything. I'm digging in the crates, bro. I'm way busy. I can't watch their nonsense. Thoughts on Syracuse struggles to stop Anthony Tyus and adjust accordingly? Do you think this will be a glaring issue for them moving forward? K-Saddy, what a great question. I will talk about it when I talk about the results. Thank you for the question. Every time I make a run. I don't know what that is, Dominic. Duke money line seems free to me. Shout out to you, STX. Congratulations. Has Boston College improved in the offseason with portal, etc.? I can talk about that. I can talk about that, Dominic. We go over Boston College team. I like that question. You know what? I'm going to answer that question right now, Dominic. Great question. For those of you who aren't MVPs, you probably don't know the answer to this question, so I'll help you out. I've done a deep dive. If you go to the Patreon and you actually search on the homepage for Patreon, use this search bar right here, and you type in Boston College, you will see a video where I talked about Boston College this offseason, and I did an in-depth analysis on their roster and their team. Now, it's a win totals video. You can't do it anymore because you can't bet on it anymore because the season already started. But you can learn about the teams. Now, if you're not an MVP, I'll give you a quick rundown. I won't go too much in depth because we're going to keep it wave tops here. But first and foremost, there's Jaden Skeet. Jaden Skeet up here, wide receiver. If you guys don't know Jaden Skeet, I'm a huge fan of him. I think he's a professional. I watched him on tape for the very first time this offseason, and I stopped what I was doing, made a TikTok about it. I made a YouTube about it, and that's actually how I got my invite to the 5-star camp. If you guys don't know, I went to the Next Gen 5-star camp. When was that, sweetie? May? In May, I went and looked at all the best high school players from 2026 and 2027, and I got invited to go there because I identified Jaden Skeet as a hell of a player. I want to tell you guys what happened there. Jaden Skeet is a kid, as a freshman, committed to Boston College. He was a local kid. He said, I'm going to go to Boston College. He went to one camp. They took pictures of him, made him a 3-star, and he stopped going to camps. He didn't care anymore. I'm committed to my local school that I've always wanted to go to. I'm good. And the recruiting websites completely ignored him because he never went and got on the camps. He never did that top 8 list, top 6, give me a graphic. He never did any of that shit. He just said, I'm going here, I'm locked in, that's it. So the recruiting websites just assumed he's nothing special and didn't hype him up in any way, shape, or form. So I don't have anywhere online anybody's telling me Jaden Skeet is great. I'm watching tape on every single player in America in the 2 deep. And I watched Joseph Griffin. Joe Griffin transferred out of the school. He left. And when Joe Griffin hit the transfer portal, he was second best receiver on Boston College last year outside of Lewis Bond. And I see Griffin hit the transfer portal. I'm like, okay, well, who's going to step up? And I start studying the wide receiver room. And Jaden Skeet's tape comes on. And I'm like, man, they said he's 3 stars? They don't know what the hell they're talking about. That's a beast of a player. So they obviously don't have the quarterback that's going to go out there and air it out and do all those great things. Shout out to Thomas Castellanos, great dual threat quarterback, but 1,100-yard rusher, but just a terrible thrower. That man is so inaccurate, he's bound to throw interceptions every single game. Go look it up. Interceptions every single, and I'm saying interceptions plural because he throws about 2 a game. Go look it up, guys. It's wild. But Jaden Skeet is special if he can find a quarterback to get him the ball. I love his talent. Gerard Bradley. Gerard Bradley's a transfer, 6'5", from Texas Tech. He manages to find the end zone because of his size. The fact that he got on the field at Texas Tech is impressive to me because there are really good wide receivers at Texas Tech. Like, the wide receiver room's deep. And I'm really high on a couple wide receivers that aren't in the 2 deep right now at Texas Tech. So to see Gerard on the field, it means they have a weapon, a huge one. Lewis Bond's their leading receiver from last year. He's still good. Offensive line has some work to do on the left-hand side, but the right side is very strong. Tight end, Morales, congratulations, you're here. You're a little older. You got a little better. At least they found depth, but I'm not moved like that. Quarterback room, I don't like it at all, and I don't think Bill O'Brien likes it either. They brought in Grayson James from FIU. He's not listed here on the website, but he's the starter who lost his job. I think he was Duncanville, right? Yeah, Duncanville, quarterback out of Texas. Looked utterly terrible at FIU. Then he transfers over here. They told me he was doing well in spring ball. I don't see him on the 2 deep here for our lads, but who knows? Our lads doesn't have everything that's accurate. Castellanos is a beast out of Ware County here in Georgia. Just a dual threat dude. Can't throw, but he can run his ass off. I like him. He's slippery. Kai Robichar is a stud. Trayshawn Ward is the backup running back here. He's a transfer from K-State, originally from Florida State. Very good player. Change of pace back. Smaller guy. Can make people miss. On the defensive line, their defensive tackles are beasts. They're going to plug the middle and do their thing. Quintarius Hutchins over here, converted tight end, going back to defensive end. Their defensive ends are very senior Latin, but they're not very productive, at least not on tape. They don't look great. Davion Crouch is the leader. Well, him and Cam Arnold, well, he's young. I'm sorry. I shouldn't say he's young. He's a junior, but he hasn't played a whole lot. He's mainly been special teamer. You have Cam Arnold. Cam Arnold is him. Cam Arnold is him. He's the leader of this defense, IMO, in my opinion. Sione Hala is a good young player. He's actually went to St. John Bosco High School, so I think he's pretty special as well. Amari Jackson is the bee's knees on defense. One of the best corners you'll see anywhere. It's pretty good. And they have a bunch of younger guys in the secondary. But I believe in Hafley, their former head coach. He's a good secondary coach, a good DB coach. Their new defensive coordinator, same thing, a very good defensive coach or defensive backs coach, been coaching for about 30 years. I really believe in their development on the defensive side of the ball as opposed to finding superstars. So that's the rundown on who Boston College is and their roster. I think they got better. Oh, by the way, don't sleep on McGowan, another transfer, pretty good player, should probably be in the rotation with Tomlin. I believe all these guys will get some play, some burn. I don't know about Reed Harris getting on the field or any of these other guys, but those guys really stick out to me, those 5. It doesn't really matter. They don't throw the ball effectively for the most part. Great question, though. Thanks for pressing me to talk about an entire roster in the ACC. I can do that for every single team, guys. I know every player in America. I do that for half an hour on every single team all off season long. Please become an MVP. You'll get the videos where I talk about win percentages and win totals, and I break down every single position group, and I talk about these teams in depth. This is why I can pick games against the spread better than anyone in the world, is I actually know the teams. I know the players. I've been following them their whole careers. I didn't just meet them this week. I didn't just do a quick pick while they're matching up. I don't do that stuff, man. I know these guys. And when you know them for that duration of time, you get an understanding of who they are and what they're capable of on the field. So thanks for the question. I appreciate you. I'll go back to the chat now, and then we'll start talking about results from last week. Looking here, I ate all weekend. Jalen Roan, yes, you did. Shout out to you, man. I was up 5 units, good week 1. There you go. Just hit on a 3 CFL plays, too. Oh, goodness. You're Canadian, or you just bet on Canadians? If you bet on Canadian games, you should apologize for that. It's not called Rico Thinks. Correct. It's called RicoKnows. Rico was on fire last night. USC unders, prop touchdown man-to-man. I bet that -7 Texas tonight, drop on it. Jared Bush, please don't ever come in here and talk about MVP level plays that haven't happened yet. You will get blocked. I don't give a shit who you are or what you do for this channel. You will be gone. Do not come in here talking like that. That is not acceptable. We do not do that. That being said, I was right about USC game last night. I said bet the unders for both teams. I told you Jacoby was going to score a touchdown. I was pretty dialed in last night for the LSU-USC game. MVP's 8 if they bet on the first half under that I told them to. I was really high on the under. You got two teams losing Heisman Trophy winners. It's obvious. You lose NFL draft picks in the wide receiver room on both teams. You lose Heisman Trophy winners at quarterback, new defensive coordinators, an emphasis on defense, a removal of some talented players. Yes, the over-under is going to be incorrect by Vegas. They just didn't anticipate that nonsense. Thoughts on Cal's offense this past week against UC Davis? I will definitely talk about it when I go over the results after this chat here. Miami winning the ACC. Shocker. Well, way to go out on a ledge there, Travis. Saturday is my birthday, and my gift will be your awesome UFC analysis bets and a very appreciative MVP. Thanks for all the insightful analysis. Yes, please don't come in here and talk about any MVP plays, Jared Bush. The Baylor line was 14.5, and Baylor money line is 525. But wow, Baylor's so bad, the line should be 21 points. All right, Chavis Bosler. Baylor's not in the ACC, but I don't think you know anything about Baylor to say they're bad. That's crazy. You guys. Study rosters, bro. Study rosters. That's just wild. All right, let me get after this. We'll start talking about the results in the ACC. So let's go over it. First and foremost, week 1. Here we go. We've obviously got a game tonight. If you want to watch it with me, I'll be on YouTube for the live stream. Please come and watch it. It'll be cool. I'll talk to you guys about live bets or whatever the hell's going on. Anyways, we already talked about Georgia Tech, Florida State. You saw it happen. Georgia Tech beats Florida State. Congratulations. SMU beats Nevada. Now, we just saw Nevada beat Troy. So we kind of know, we kind of know that SMU is, or that Nevada's a pretty decent team. They're pretty decent. I don't think people realize it. I think people are in denial right now. But Brennan Lewis has been a starting quarterback for 3 years now at the FBS level, and it's starting to show because he's running very effectively, moving the chains, and a coaching change to Jeff Choate, who's a former Montana State head coach, who knows what to do. He always gets more out of his players. He's doing great. On the flip side, SMU being overly talented, and I'm starting to wonder what Rhett Lashley worked on in the offseason. I think they've just been reading their own headlines and their own press clippings, and they've just been paying a bunch of players, and they're losing their inability to get hunger. You know, when you get money, there's no incentive to be great again. I want to quote the great Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz said rich people shouldn't be fighting. Nate Diaz said rich people shouldn't fight because they have nothing to fight for. Like, you can fight, but you have an option to lose. Some days I'll look at my paycheck and I'll be like, man, I made enough money to take a day off. Not a chance in hell. I'm still hungry. I still want more. I still have things to do. When you look at the SMU players, they look like they collected paychecks from the boosters. They look like they've all been paid handsomely, and they are playing like shit. I'm not impressed with SMU, and I also think the coaches are struggling with keeping Preston Stone in the game. They don't want him. Jennings is their future, Kevin Jennings, and they're doing their best to try to give him playing time and keep him effective. And anytime, it's that thing I told you guys. When you make a mistake, you stare at the sideline and wonder if you're getting the hook. That's how it is. I'll never forget that feeling. I was a junior at a new school in high school. I just transferred schools. I went to the big school, the best school. I was a superstar at my previous school. They moved me over here to this new school, and I was fighting for playing time as a junior. Coach put me in. I can remember missing a tackle. It was a starting corner, starting free safety, depending on what game I was in. And I missed the tackle, and I was so nervous that I was going to get pulled out of the game. I kept looking back at the sideline, kept looking back at my defensive coordinator, like, is he going to sub me out? Is he going to sub? Every mistake I was making. All season long, I was just like looking over my shoulder. I couldn't focus. And then my senior year, there's no chance in hell they're pulling me out of games. No doubt in my mind, I'm starting, I'm playing no matter what. I know I'm the best player there ever was. Like, I'm focused. When you have that immense amount of confidence and you're not looking over your shoulder, you play different, bro. You got your mojo back. You play with an edge. And you know coach has your back. I'll never forget the first time my coach talked positively about me in the newspaper. They said, who are your best players? He said, here are my key returners. And he listed me on the key returners list. I was like, hell yeah. I'll never forget that day, bro. That's real talk right there. So when I look at a guy like Preston Stone, when he's out on the field, it looks like he keeps looking over his shoulder like, are they going to pull me out for Jennings? Are they going to pull me out? They're going to give this guy all my playing time? And he's making mistakes, and he can't focus on what he needs to do. Coaches need to go out, reaffirm and reassure that he is the leader of this team, and they won't do it because they're trying to keep Jennings on this team engaged. And then if you have two quarterbacks, I've always said this, if you have two quarterbacks, you don't have a quarterback. If you have two quarterbacks, you don't have one. If you have two quarterbacks, you have a locker room that prefers one or the other. You have wide receivers that eat dinner and lunch with one or the other. There's a group text, and it's the wide receivers talking to one of these guys. They're not cool with both of them. They're picking one of them, and they prefer one of them more than the other. This is a disjointed team. And I got news for you. Seeing that performance against Nevada, if you pair that up with how they looked in their bowl game, which the one trick I have better than everybody else is I don't discredit bowl games. Bowl games are the first game of the next season. I don't know, Rico, there's opt-outs. Everybody went to the draft. That's not even the real. No, that is the team. Every opt-out and everybody who went to the draft is not on that team this year. They're gone. What you had on the field is who you are. Now, you might address some of your shortcomings with the transfer portal, and if you think you're getting freshmen and you're too deep, more power to you. But what I saw in a bowl game is who you are. And I watched SMU get blown out by Boston College in the bowl game. And this is a team dominating in the group of five, and then you get paired up with an ACC team, and you get smacked in the bowl game. Then you show up and you start the season, and you're struggling with Nevada. That's terrible. Speaking of terrible, NC State and Western Carolina. Now, Western Carolina is a top 25 team in the FCS. There's no ranking next to their name, but they're a team. They're a top 25 team in the FCS. They're very good. And we got this right. I picked this game against the spread, and I told you Western Carolina was going to stay within a certain amount of points of NC State. I believed it. NC State still put up 38 points, though, guys. 38 points is a respectable number. The bigger issue here is 21 of them came in the fourth quarter. So what were you doing for 3 quarters? Were you guys just getting to know each other? Trying to figure it out? The reality is they still don't have another receiving threat outside of Concepcion. Waters is a decent running back out of Duke, but I don't know where he's at. I don't know if he's the bell cow you're looking for. And McCall is actually really good. And when I went back and watched this tape, Grayson McCall is the 3-time Sun Belt Player of the Year. He is very good. He's not some little guy that you're cheering for. Homie's 6'3" and makes smart decisions with the football. I'm telling you, they got to figure it out. They got to get it together. They play Tennessee this week. I'll talk about it. Wake Forest looked like absolute ass to me. Dog shit. Wake Forest couldn't stop a team that only runs the ball. North Carolina A&T finished 120th, 130th ranked. 120th ranked in passing last year, the year before, 2023. We know they can only run. Yes, they have Kenji Christian. He is a stud running back transferred in from Virginia Tech. But this is a team that can only run the ball. You don't cover the spread. Or you don't cover the under, I'm sorry. You couldn't shut these guys out. It's a HBCU, bro. You're Wake Forest. You got a daunting front seven, and you can't stop them. The strength of Wake Forest is their front seven. And they couldn't stop the run. That's concerning. On the flip side, Hank Bachmeier didn't start this game. He better. I don't want to hear about any split in time. Hank Bachmeier went out there and did exactly what he does. And Hank Bachmeier, shout out to Evan Kramer, Hank Bachmeier and these 3 touchdowns further solidifies that Sonny Cumbie needs to be fired. I'm talking about the La Tech head coach. You had Hank Bachmeier, bro. You had Hank Bachmeier. And you couldn't just shit with him. He's out here willing and dealing. It's against a terrible team. It is what it is. North Carolina, Minnesota. Predicting this game, I told you guys North Carolina was going to win this game just because they have more talent on their roster. They're better. And it took a missed field goal at the conclusion of the game. I don't care. I want to tell you guys, Omarion Hampton looks so good. And I want to credit a coaching staff for understanding that the only way they're going to win this game is 30 carries. If you guys have a chance to bet on Omarion Hampton every week in a prop bet, please do it. That dude is going to go for 30 carries. They have no other option. They're not using their receivers that are actually pretty decent. We got a quarterback that broke his knees or something, broke his legs, something. Your knees aren't supposed to touch, bro. That dude was out there knee knocking like a Bambi, like a baby deer. Max Johnson's gone. Brosmer looked like he has growing pains, bro. Max Brosmer, one of the nation's leading passer out of the FCS, complete stud, shows up and looked like he wasn't ready for the big time. There's a guy named Elijah Huzzy on the other side of the field. He's putting in work. Shout out to North Carolina, a dominant defense. People need to remember this. The North Carolina players are very good. Like talent-wise, they're very good. So while you can't name any of them and there's nobody on a top 10 list anywhere, the standard for who they are is amazing. And I want to talk about, so I'm going to pull up the box score real quick, because a young man got 3 sacks in the game. And when you go back and watch the tape, you're going to be like, man, he's amazing, right? Ritzy here. Now, Ritzy, the reason I don't think he's amazing is I've actually watched him play for 3 or 4 years now. And I've never assessed him to be great. But this guy right here, Rucker is going to dominate games. And he's a huge reason why there's 3 sacks on the other side of the field. Like, Rucker is the problem here. This is the best player on this defense. Kamen Rucker, Elijah Huzzy, really, but the two of these guys. But Rucker is the disruptor. Rucker's a problem. And it's something you just gotta believe in, guys. That dude's a beast. Seriously. And shout out to Jack Henderson, a white safety who hits like a ton of bricks. I like him a lot. But yeah, the game was pretty simple. North Carolina needs to find another receiver they believe in outside of J.J. Jones. Only throwing to J.J. Jones doesn't work for me. Omarion Hampton catching your screens for nothing doesn't work for me. You gotta start incorporating Nate McCollum. Bubble screens, slip screens, slants, something. Give me something. Nate McCollum is that guy. I've watched him do it before when he was at Georgia Tech. You got to believe in Nate McCollum, and they didn't get it done. So go back to the drawing board, start scoring more, but hey, a win's a win. Then we get to Friday. We were on Elon to cover this spread. By the way, the spread was 23.5. I said, guys, I'm going to go with Elon. Elon looks like a great team, great coaching staff's been together for 6 years. I love continuity. Okay, so I believed in Elon, and then the game started, and I went, oh my God, we're going to miss. Elon could not pass protect to save their lives. Duke lost a number of defenders to the transfer portal, a number of defensive linemen to the transfer portal. It didn't matter. Their players were so much better than Elon. It was scary. And then we backdoor a field goal at the end of the game, and we actually won. We covered the spread. Elon did it. 23.5. We got that backdoor at the last second. It was amazing. And shout out to Baker. I want you guys to know something. If you're an FCS football fan, this kid Baker is nice as hell. He's a little dude, little scat back dude, nice as hell. By the way, Jordan Moore, my hidden gem on Duke this offseason. I talked about him, a former dual threat quarterback who turned into a wide receiver the last 2 years. Complete stud. Murphy's got nice touch on his passes. They're gonna be a problem scoring over the top. They have skill players. They do. We'll see what happens. They didn't get all the drives done. There's some growing pains. Terrible coaching staff, I know. But this is real. Malik Murphy, Jordan Moore, that's a real connection. TCU Stanford. I told you guys I have this chart. And remember, in the preseason, if you go back to the live tab and you watch the show, like I told you guys, if you watch the show, you see me and I went over these talent charts. And I told you how good certain teams were. And I saw all the MVPs talking about Stanford, and they were going to take Stanford over TCU. Stanford is the 58th best team in the country, according to me, and according to my talent assessment. 58. If you go to TCU, I have TCU at 39. That tells me right then and there, I don't care what you're talking about, I'm taking TCU. 39 to 58, that's a huge number. There's a lot of teams in between there. And maybe you guys are like, well, Rico, what's this talent evaluation crap? Like, what is this chart? Well, let me tell you, the talent evaluation chart, if I can show you, and I will, give me a second here. I'm going to drop it in front of you guys. For week 1, talent evaluation chart. Let me see if I can pull it in. I don't want to give away too much. There it is. There's the talent evaluation chart. I'm going to drop it in the screen here in a second. Bear with me. Here it is. Here's me picking games based on the chart, and there's TCU. By the way, the talent evaluation chart went 10-4 this weekend. 10-4. 71% accurate on games. I can tell you who's going to win the game. I don't care what you think. I'm just going to tell you what the chart is. And TCU got it done. Now, it was a sloppy game. That's unfortunate for them. But I just knew it was going to happen. Hoover looked great. Stanford's out here running their quarterback too much. Shout out to Ashton Daniels. He is athletic. He does run around. And the reason he's running around is his wide receivers get no separation. They're not open. So he's got to extend the play and run. That's why a lot of quarterbacks end up running. But at the same time, 17 carries. Those are some quarterback design runs, and I don't like it. Beck, the LSU transfer, if I remember correctly, used to be a tight end. Now he's a wide receiver. Look at him. Dominating. Shout out to TCU. I told you guys in the offseason, when I assessed TCU, they look like they're going to have a bounce-back year. I know they had a terrible year last year, but they fixed their offensive line in the transfer portal. They got real offensive line, not cast-offs from scrub-ass teams. They found real help in the offensive line and in the transfer portal for their offensive line. They already had all the other pieces. Speaking of having all the other pieces, Georgia. Georgia absolutely demolishes Clemson. I don't think it's that big of a deal. A lot of people are saying it's a big deal. For me, Clemson just has a terrible quarterback. Let me rephrase this. They have a great defensive line. Clemson does. Great talented players. There's going to be a lot of guys on this defense in general that go to the NFL. There aren't a lot of NFL guys on their offense. I want to equate this to an NFL GM who drafts the wrong quarterback in the first round. Like, you do the first round draft, you pick the wrong guy, and you're left to pick up the pieces, and you get fired. So everybody is attacking Dabo Swinney. He doesn't know how to adapt. He's terrible. He didn't do this right. No, look, man, Dabo lost some amazing position coaches and coordinators, and he's hired the wrong people. That's number one. Number two, this five-star quarterback is absolutely gross. Gross in the worst way. Can't do anything right. Never sets his feet before a throw. So it's all arm instead of lead. And if you ever look at quarterbacks who don't set their feet, the Anthony Richardsons of the world, the Gavin Wimsatts of the world, these are the worst quarterbacks. Highly inaccurate, just naturally off target. It's going to lead to interceptions all over the place. Cade Klubnik is just a panic attack in a hurry, even if the pocket's clean. And it's not going to be very clean against a team like Georgia. On the flip side, I'm going to talk about Georgia on Thursday. But shout out to Nate Frazier. Shout out to me. I've been talking about Nate Frazier for over a year now. I posted my first video on Nate Frazier last August when he was in high school. And I said that there's no way that guy's a 4-star player. Who gave him 4 stars? Fire that dude too. But shout out to Clemson. They'll be okay. I think Georgia can do this to a lot of teams. I do. Miami. I'm not surprised. Miami's my number 1 team in the ACC. I love everything they're doing. Shout out to Cam Ward. Shout out to everybody. Restrepo, Sam Brown for showing up, the defense. I love everything Miami's doing. Ain't mad at them. And that's another thing. Florida fans need to calm down. Everybody out there in the SEC world, I'm going to talk about it on Thursday. Bro, you're a 4-win team. And you're playing one of the best teams in America. This is what it's supposed to look like. This type of score would happen if Colorado played the elite teams of the world. That's the only problem. Florida's playing the elite teams and getting stomped. Billy Napier, your days are numbered. Speaking of days are numbered, Virginia Tech, you return everybody from a 7-win season. We believe in you. Pick you, make you a lock. And I want to be clear on something. I don't want to go into this long tangent about how I pick my locks and stuff. But you got to avoid the upsets. There's only so many upsets every week, especially early on in the season. And what I got to do is predict them, which I did. Shout out to the money line predictions, right? I predicted upsets. We got 5 out of we went 5-3 on the upsets. But I got to avoid being a victim of them. And this one hurts. This one hurts immensely. Kyron Drones goes out there, throws for 300 yards. I don't care. That's going to happen. Vanderbilt's going to give up yards. You can't stop Diego Pavia, bro. Listen, if you're an MVP on this channel and you've been watching me for the last 2 years now, you know I love Diego Pavia. He made us so much money last year at New Mexico State. The rest of the world never believed in this little dude. I believe in him wholeheartedly. I know his whole story. We bet on Diego Pavia almost every single week. You can go back, look at the chart, look at all the videos. We always believe in Diego Pavia. But when he transfers to Vanderbilt, with his offensive coordinator, with all his other coaches, with everybody, I just thought to myself, okay, well, that's nice. I watched him dominate Auburn last year. But it's a feel-good story, but there's no way this is going to happen to Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech, for me, in my assessment, is the second best talented team in the ACC. What did I just say? Yes, the second best talented team in the ACC. The offensive line is singer-laden and amazing. Receivers are Allie Jennings and Jalen Lane, both guys who were leading receivers at their previous schools. They transferred in with DeQuan Felton. They all transferred in. They were the leading receivers at Middle Tennessee State and ODU. Kyron Drones is a dual-threat monster. Byshal Tutton's an FCS All-American 2 years ago, 1,400-yard rusher. We know he's explosive. Defensively, you got a guy who can get a sack every day of the week. You got Peebles coming in from the transfer portal. You're just loaded. And you can't stop Vanderbilt. It's a damn shame. It's they got to get off the mat. We won't be betting on them anytime soon. And shout out to Vanderbilt, man, getting the most out of your juice. I want to make something very clear. If you go to my Twitter, let me do this. And we go in here, Twitter, and you go to my homepage, my profile, right here, futures bet video, Vanderbilt, 2.5 wins was the over-under. I made this video as early as possible. I made this video, I don't even remember when I made it. Let me hit play here. Let me see when I made this video. Made this video 13 February. And I screamed to all the MVPs.
Getting ready to do all these
win totals, over-unders. I already did Boston College, and I told you guys I'm going to do a new team every 3 days. But as I was going through them, there's one in here that I think we need to urgently bet on, like right now, before they move the line. And the answer is Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is currently over-under is 2.5 wins. They're going to get 3 wins at a minimum. They have Diego Pavia at quarterback. They got a gamer. They got a guy who can beat Auburn. Okay, they got players. Vanderbilt has really utilized the transfer portal just fine. Just trust me, they're going to win 3 games. Go put 10 units on this. Let me explain something to you guys. They're going to beat Alcorn State. Alcorn State's terrible. They're going to be at Georgia State. Georgia State just lost Darren Granger, just lost Marcus Carroll. Georgia State is not going to be competitive with them in this game. They're going to get these 2 wins early in September. I have them losing to Virginia Tech. I have them losing to Missouri. But they play Ball State for their 3rd win. That's Ball State in the MAC, who's absolutely atrocious. One of the worst teams in the FBS. Alcorn State, and then Georgia State. And let's just say they lose to Georgia State on the road, which I don't see happening. All they got to do is win 1 game in the SEC. Just 1. Give me 1. But you don't even need 1. It's 2.5, and there's 3 games on the schedule. Ball State, Georgia State, and Alcorn, they can definitely win. They got a shot to beat Virginia Tech. They got a shot. They got athletes. They got players, guys. It's Vanderbilt. It's the SEC. They have recruiting budgets. They're still a top 50 class. They got great players in the transport. Diego Pavia alone can go out and beat some teams. He's bad as shit, man. 900-yard rusher. Like, that's real. But this right here, 1, 2, 3. I can't scream it enough. Get to your sports book. Go bet on the futures before they move this thing to 3.5 wins. Bet the over, and I'm telling you, sit back and watch them beat out-of-conference opponents. I would do 10 units. This is where are we at? I said they can beat Virginia Tech. Bet 10 units. And I know MVPs bet 10 units on this. I know MVPs did. And we're going to be rich. We did it. We're going to win. And that's why you need to be an MVP in the offseason. That was in February, guys. I'm screaming bet 10 units on Vandy. And you know what? The line did move. They moved it to minus 200. They left it at 3.5 or 2.5 wins, but they made it a minus 200 instead of the minus 115 we got in on. If you're not a gambler and you don't know what I'm talking about, let me tell you what I did. You can't gamble in my state, but Kim is a resident of Virginia, and I sent Kim on a 7-hour drive to go make some bets. Some bets I really believed in. You better ask somebody. Congratulations. Louisville, Austin Peay. I told the MVPs we're taking Louisville to cover the spread. It's pretty simple, and it's not about how good Louisville is. It's about how terrible Austin Peay is. Austin Peay loses their head coach, Scotty Walden, to UTEP. He's the new head coach of UTEP. And all the good players from Austin Peay hit the transfer portal and went to UTEP with him. So there's nothing left at Austin Peay, and I believe Louisville was going to go out there and cover the spread. I think the spread was only 36 points, which was insane. That was covered by halftime. We made a ton of money on that. Congratulations, MVPs. I was right. Pitt and Kent State. I told you Kent State's terrible. Pitt's not good, but Kent State's worse. Kent State's one of the worst teams in America. Got them at about 132nd ranked out of 134 teams. We knew this was happening. Hey, Desmond Reed. Desmond Reed, bro. Desmond Reed. Hey, I've been talking about Desmond Reed all offseason. I'm not joking. Here it is. Here's a video of Desmond Reed back in June 29th. I told you my hidden gem for Pitt is little Desmond Reed here. Beast. Transfer from Western Carolina. FCS transfer. Fast as hell. Florida kid. Little guy. Just a little booger. A little booger you can't catch. And he went out there and did his thing. 78-yard punt return for a touchdown. Not surprised. 145 yards rushing. 78 return. And then Eli Holstein. I made videos on Eli Holstein on TikTok 2 years ago when I told you who I thought was the best quarterback on the Alabama bench. Remember, Alabama was trying to figure out who's going to be their starting quarterback? And I was like, guys, I don't give a shit about Ty Simpson. I don't care about this other guy. You know who I care about? That dude. I care about Eli Holstein. I think he's got a future. And then a year later, he's transferred and he's the starting quarterback at Pitt. Congratulations to him. Shout out to him. Johnson out here getting 100 yards. Found a weapon. Found a weapon I didn't anticipate. How about that? We'll see what happens. Syracuse, Ohio. Syracuse fans are probably really happy because they scored 38 points and they have a real quarterback. Last year they had no quarterback at the end of the season. Schrader was hurt. They were letting anybody play. Anybody play quarterback. They brought in their tight end and converted quarterback from Michigan, but they were like, yo, you play quarterback. No, LaQuinn Allen, can you throw? They were at practice just fun. You know how when people go to practice, they're like, who can kick? Anybody out here can kick or punt? You ever seen that before? I've seen that, okay? I was a football coach once. But nonetheless, you're out here trying to figure out who's good. Kyle McCord is good. Kyle McCord can lace it, bro. He can spin it. He's doing great things. He hit Gatson for a touchdown. Congratulations. The reality is, though, there is no way you give up 200 yards rushing to a Northwestern transfer. Anthony Tyrus is a Northwestern transfer that's not that good. And he rushed for 200 yards on your busted ass on only 16 carries. Dude, Syracuse, if you can't stop the run, you're in for a very long season. You're going to have to shoot out everybody. Ohio, for me, is one of the least talented teams in the MAC this year. Ohio lost everybody. I love Tim Albin as a coach. Think he's great. I'm going to talk about them tomorrow. Big Ten in the MAC are tomorrow. But for me, Syracuse, got to feel good about scoring and throwing touchdowns and all this stuff. But giving up that many rushing yards is very ugly. Very ugly. Speaking of ugly, Cal didn't cover the spread. That's ugly. Well, I knew they wouldn't. How about that? Remember when you guys asked me? See, sometimes people, some guy said, Rico, all you do is go chalk. No, I don't. I don't always go chalk. You'll hear me, and I'll tell you, hey, Cal's a 20-point favorite. I don't like that. No, I respect UC Davis. UC Davis has good players. I know UC Davis roster. No, I don't like that 20 points. I think they're going to keep it vanilla because they got a big game coming up next week against Auburn. So they're going to keep it vanilla against an FCS team. I don't like it. That's me telling you I like the underdog. You got to be able to get there, bro. You got to be able to infer it. If you don't see a favorite on the chart, it means I like the underdog. Essentially. Just letting you know. If you don't see the underdog on the chart, it means I don't like the game at all. So, careful. Nonetheless, Cal, really, really concerning performance. They need to come out and hit on all cylinders. I believe they're on the verge of trying to find a new coach after this season. We'll see. Virginia, 34 points against Richmond. I think they called off the Dogs in the second half. Colin Drea gets the start again. Remember, this is a kid who started last year, and he's starting again. And let me tell you, man, Kobe Pace is nice. Kobe Pace, as the starting running back, is a transfer from Clemson. Not bad. I love what he's doing. And then Fields just showed up. Carries on. Remember, they had an amazing singular receiver last year, and they're about to do it again with Fields. Fields is going to get all the reps they can. I like Virginia. Virginia's sneaky good in a weird way. Remember last year I had to make that declaration like, yo, Virginia's better than you guys think. That's where I'm at. Georgia Tech kind of comes back down to earth, not blowing anything, the doors off. I don't think Georgia Tech's exceptionally great. Yes, they beat Florida State. They're not too great, but they got the win, and that's what matters. And they covered the spread like I thought they would. Shout out to Haynes, Rutherford, King. Like, they're doing it. It's cool. And Georgia State's in a rebuilding year. Not a big deal. There's SMU going ham against Houston Christian. Congratulations. You see it. You get excited. I don't like it. Different leading passer every week. I don't like it. Yes, they came out and hitting all cylinders. 42 points at half. Bro, it's Houston Christian. Whatever. We'll see what's up. All right. Let's talk about the schedule this week. First off, there's a game tonight, obviously. I'm sorry, I'm not talking about it because I've already talked about it for the MVPs. If you want to know what I think about the Florida State Boston College game tonight, become an MVP. Go watch the video. I posted it earlier today on the Patreon. You'll know who's the winner. You'll know what prop bets to make. Everything. Prize picks. I do everything. Go watch the video. It's 25 minutes long. You can watch it at 2.0 speed. That's the cheat code. Game starts in about an hour and a half. Okay? We got to end this show at 7:30 to make sure we start the live stream on time. So hopefully we don't go too long. Nonetheless, we have a game on Friday. We have two games, BYU and SMU. Weekday games are MVP level content. I will not talk about them. So I will not talk about these two games at all. Okay? Georgia Tech, Syracuse. Give me a second here. I apologize. I need to double check the chart for week 2 and make sure these games aren't on it. If they're on the chart, I won't be talking about them. Georgia Tech, Syracuse is on the chart. Won't address it. Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, I will address. They look like evenly match teams. I really like their offenses, but defensively, these are not very good teams. Pittsburgh gave up a certain amount of points in their game, and Cincinnati allowed Towson to score like 20 points. But Cincinnati, I love Sorsby. I think this game's a shootout. I think these teams come out here and put up some serious points. You see the over-under is 59.5. I think you should be leaning towards the over. It's not on my chart, but I would be leaning towards the over. Okay? If you want to know who's winning the game, that's on my chart. But the over feels real. I think these teams are going to score pretty good amount. Next game is California and Auburn. I'm trying to learn about these games this week, or these teams. I don't believe in Auburn the way a lot of people do. I just don't. I don't. And I understand that it's the SEC and you think they're better teams. But it took a miracle for Cal to lose to Mississippi State last year. An absolute miracle, if I remember correctly. This time around, we'll see what Auburn does. Obviously, Cal has to travel all the way to Auburn. Cal better get used to traveling because they're in the ACC and they're way over there and they're over here. Do your thing, but 2 touchdowns feels right for Auburn to win by. I wouldn't bet on it. I would watch it and learn about both teams. Duquesne playing Boston College. It's a short week for them, obviously playing Florida State tonight and then playing Duquesne on Saturday. They don't need much time in preparation to beat Duquesne. They just suck. Okay. Jacksonville State is not who you think they are. I won't be talking about that game. It's an MVP level lock. Charlotte, North Carolina, it's not even on the chart, but giving North Carolina only 22 points against Charlotte feels wild to me. Charlotte played decent against JMU, but they still lost by 23 points. So giving a JMU beats them by 23. You think North Carolina's not going to beat them by 22? That might be added to the chart by the end of the week. It just feels silly. I don't see how Charlotte's defense looked improved, by the way. But they looked mean, fast, but my God, did they look terrible on offense. Lost, no identity. Hassan Adams was fine at running back, but the rest of it was ugh. Virginia Tech, they better bounce back and beat Marshall. That's all there is to it. They better beat Marshall. Figure it out. They're at home. They're favorites by 20 points. They should, theoretically, if I hadn't seen them in week 1, I would have said Virginia Tech's winning this game by 30 points. Good luck with that. Miami playing Florida A&M. No issue there. Stanford should blow out Cal Poly. I just watched Cal Poly give up 70 points to Washington State. It should be very similar. Shout out to Stanford. They're going to score a bunch of points against Cal Poly. Wake Forest, Virginia, it's on the chart. I won't talk about it. Tennessee, NC State. It's on the chart, but it's not on the chart, is it? No, I took it off. But I'll talk about it. According to my talent metric, which is at 71% accuracy right now, NC State's a better team. But they're right next to each other. And this is weird. I didn't know they were even playing each other when I made the talent chart assessment, if you will. But when I did it, if you look here, NC State's in the ACC. I have them ranked 21st in the country. NC State's 21st in the country for me talent-wise. And in the SEC, I have Tennessee 22nd. They're back-to-back. It's one spot. There is room for margin for error. A&M, right? So what it really comes down to is, like, people look at a team like this and they base it off these rankings. These rankings will predetermine how you feel about teams. They condition you. They precondition you to think certain teams are better than others, and they're not. Did you watch LSU and USC last night? Did you see the rankings next to their names? They're completely off. They're not right. There's just no way in hell. Like, that's how I feel about it, man. So it is what it is. NC State played terrible in week 1. They got to get it together. But they're at home. Tennessee's going to show up with a bunch of weapons. I know a lot of people believe in Nico. I hope they play good. I'm going to tell you guys this. If Tennessee loses this game, their season's over. Yeah, their season's over if they lose this game. They're going to have 3 to 4 losses at that point. I have Tennessee only winning 7 or 8 games this year. So go figure. App State at Clemson. The spread's 17. I understand Clemson's supposed to win this game and win by 17. Watching Clemson's offense, I don't know how they get ahead by 17. I just don't, man. They don't look that good. And the offense is so problematic that it leaves you in bad field position. It gives the other team more offensive possessions. App State's one of the very best group of 5 teams in America. Like, very best. They have a returning senior quarterback. They have an amazing running back in Kanye. They have all the receivers returned from last year and a really good coach. App State, man. That number feels weird. Clemson, I know. They should be blowing them out. I heard you. I hear you. All right, before I get into Conference USA, go back to the chat. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it. If you're watching on TikTok, move over to YouTube, ask your questions. I will interact with you. We'll see what's up. Back to the chat. Let me scroll. See what happens. We got some sharps in here today. Shout out to you, DS. People just need to listen to what he tells us, and you will make money. Rico really knows what he's talking about. Thank you so much, Gary Clark. Take good notes, bro. Corn Saturday, 90,000. Tell Colorado, don't bring those stupid watches. Shout out to you, Larry Traywicki. We'll definitely watch the game, but I don't really care either way. This is what New Mexico State has, I think, even though their quarterback room is lacking. I don't know what that means. And I'm not there. 49er just got shot over his watch. Times are good to people with watches nowadays. I've never owned a watch in my life, just so you guys are clear. I might have owned a Fossil watch back in the day. a fossil, but I would never spend money on peripherals. Like, I don't know. I've never owned a pair of sunglasses, no chain, no jewelry, nothing. I just don't believe in it. I'd rather have money in the bank. And I got a lot more money than these damn people who buying watches. Hey, Rico just became a member. Shout out to you, Jay. I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Take on Florida State, Boston College. Become an MVP. It's on the Discord server. I'm sorry, on the Patreon. You won't regret it. Sensei Rico, you think Klubnik is the quarterback at the end of the season? I mean, how bad does he have to suck before they bench him, bro? How bad does he have to suck? It's obvious when the coaches don't go to the bench. It's a number of things. They know right away they don't want their quarterback to lose confidence. They see it at practice. They know they have no better option. They have no better option in the locker room, on the bench, on the depth chart. So you got to roll with it. He's been a multi-year starter. He knows the offense, theoretically. He just can't perform, man. He just doesn't get it done. And I want to be clear. A lot of quarterbacks would look absolute dog shit against that Georgia team. I'm not making excuses for Klubnik. I'm just keeping it real. That Georgia defense collapses pockets. There's no open receivers. Nobody's getting separation. There's a dude named Malachi Starks out here getting incredible interceptions. It's a problem, bro. It's a problem. That kid will never be in the NFL. Klubnik is not an NFL quarterback, and he's playing against people who will be playing on Sundays. It's the reality of the situation. Reminds me of what happened to the Eagles last season. They lost both coordinators and fell apart. Yeah, a lot of coaches lose their coordinators and fall apart. That's what made Nick Saban so amazing, is Nick Saban's coordinators and coaches would get hired elsewhere, and he would just replace them and teach the new coaches. And developing coaches is what makes you a GOAT, is what makes you great. If you can develop your coaches. It's one thing to develop the players. I personally think developing players at the collegiate level is like 90% on the player. Like, we always give coaches so much credit for developing the players. The reality is those players got to want it. Those players got to be great. Let me tell you guys something. And I know you guys don't think it correlates, but it does. I'm a senior leader in the military. I train and lead men between the ages of 17 and 25, for the most part. I'm a retired first sergeant. Retired just last year, December. It's been less than a year. And what I'm telling you is my best soldiers, my very best soldiers, were self-driven. They got up early. They went and did a 1-hour ruck march before PT, before physical training. They studied and got college degrees after hours. The self-driven soldiers were absolutely amazing. It's really easy to lead them. When I won Soldier of the Year in 2004, got every trophy and sword in the world. When I was named Soldier of the Year, I studied every night till 9 p.m. And then I went out there and performed. And I was in the best shape of my life, and I could shoot, and I could move and communicate better than anybody. My leadership got credit for being the mentor, the coach and mentor of the Soldier of the Year. So they get credit for it. But the reality is I'm not hard to lead, bro. I'm a genius, and I'm applying myself. So when I look at college players who are great, so many people want to point to the coach and say that coach made them great. I think those players are lifting weights, watching film, pushing themselves to the max, eating right, working year-round to be great. And it ain't hard to lead them. Look, I look at Travis Hunter and I go, man, that guy would have been great at any school. I give no coach any credit for Travis Hunter. That dude would have been great anywhere because he's got the drive, because he's professional, because every time I see him, he's grinding on something. No diddy. So when I look at some of these players who don't pan out, I don't blame the coach. I blame the player. Where you have the good coaches versus the great coaches is the great coaches develop their coaches. The great coaches mentor and mold their coaches. And when you go look at Nick Saban's coaching tree, it's amazing. I would say Dabo Swinney is struggling with developing his coaching staff. Once he got those, he inherited some of those great positional coaches and coordinators, and they departed. The backfill has not been developed the same. And one coach that's doing well is Kirby Smart. Kirby Smart's doing well at developing his coaches. And some of them move on to bigger and better things. And he's finding backfills and he's developing his coach over and over and over. When you lose your coordinators, you got to find new ones. And it's up to the head coach to keep that ball turning. And remember, coaches either get hired or they get fired. 99% of coaches get hired to a new position or stick around long enough, become substandard, and get fired. Very, very few dictate the end of their careers. Shout out to Joe Pa. I'm just saying. So, Cade Klubnik has not developed into a very good quarterback, but I don't think there's anybody else there. I really don't. Shout out to you, the Eagles. I don't know anything about the NFL. I don't watch the NFL. Virginia Tech's coaching looked absolutely horrible in that game. Drones gets hurt, doesn't start halftime, and they put him in for a quarterback run up the middle. It's embarrassing. So let's be clear. It wasn't just halftime. It was towards the end of the game, and Kyron Drones gets called in. He comes in the game on third down to run the ball. And you say it's embarrassing. They wanted to give their leader a chance to lead the team, and he tried to go. Probably told coaches he could go. Went out there, and he wasn't 100%. That's not terrible coaching. That's believing in your player, and your player didn't get it done. And then he pulled himself out of the game. Then they put in Colin Schlee. Colin Schlee, former starting quarterback at Kent State, transferred to UCLA, sat the bench there, and he's at your school, and he should be on the bench for your school as well. Shouldn't be a starter. It's one of those things where people will point out, what could the coach do? Coach can't make you play any better. And if the young man says, yeah, I'm good to go, I'll go in the game. It's not like coach pulled him by his ear and said, get back in the game. What do you guys envision this shit is going down? It's not like that. The kid said, the player theoretically said, I can do this. And then he got out there and he couldn't. Doesn't matter. The issue for Virginia Tech was not their quarterback play or the draw that didn't get a first down. The issue was for them is 34 points that were scored. It was defensively. Assignment football not stopping Diego Pavia on options, play action. It's just crazy. Back to the chat. Apologize. Texas 42, Michigan 14. Congratulations. Vandy got New Mexico's offensive coordinator, running back, Eli Stowers, Jerry Kill as an advisor. Jerry Kill is more than an advisor. He's an on-the-field coach. And New Mexico decided to hire Tony instead of Nate Drilling, who then became the head coach of Utah State. Yeah, I mean, we know the whole story, Anthony. We don't talk about those teams unless it's on their episode for the most part. But I'm here. I'm with you. I get it. I've talked about it at length in the offseason. Thank you for being here. Pitt wide receiver Kenny Johnson going to have a breakout year and only a true sophomore. There you go. Hope he doesn't have too good of a breakout year. Then he'll hit the transfer portal, go to USC. But shout out to him. What's good? Lightwork, Coach Lightwork. Hey, what's good, man? If you guys don't know Coach Lightwork here, shout out to Quentin. I've actually had dinner with him in real life. Good guy. We get along just great. I consider him part of the fam for sure. Coach Lightwork actually has a promo code. For all you gamblers out there, just put in Lightwork, I think it's just Lightwork, for Underdogs. Go follow him on Twitter, and you can get a discount on Underdogs, I'm sure. Hope you guys make that work. Shout out to Coach. Hey, shout out to Lightwork. I appreciate you, brother. Case Addy says, Cade Klubnik would make an exceptional crew member on my local Sonic. Fair enough. I pray App State upsets Clemson. I need that chaos. It's just another nail in the coffin if that happens. But Rico, Tennessee is going to make the college football playoff. Stop it. Can I call you Don Rico? Joseph Villalone, keep it down, bro. Rico, you're one of the most authentic creators on the internet. Keep it up. Work you do very fascinating. Thank you so much, Nico. I appreciate you for supporting the channel. And I take a lot of pride in being authentic. I take a lot of pride in the hard work that I do. That's why I'm always on live. I know a lot of people watch me on TikTok, and they don't quite understand why I don't interact with them. But what I'm really showing them is that I go live stream 15 hours a day for my data and for my information. It's not a magic trick. It's hard work. It's out there doing it. Are you higher ranked than a Master Sergeant? Joseph Villalon, MSGT, MSTG. In the Army, I was a Master Sergeant in the Army. The Air Force Master Sergeant is E7. Army Master Sergeant is E8. Then among all the Master Sergeants, they pick one to be the first sergeant. I was a first sergeant for 3 years. So you're still an E8. But yeah, I don't know what to tell you, bro. I was a master sergeant for 5 years. Joseph is such a clown. Michigan might lose, but it ain't going to be a blowout. Okay. Louisville's a top 2 team in the ACC this year, and we lead the ACC in most stats. Yeah, I would too if I was playing Austin Peay. Don't ever look at stats like that. That's absurdity. All right, let's go to see what's happening here in Conference USA. Conference USA, first game of the season. Jacksonville State goes out there, lays an egg, gets blown out by Coastal Carolina. If you didn't know, I picked this game, and I told you Coastal Carolina was going to win money line. I believed in them wholeheartedly. I didn't think the game would be close. My talent evaluation told me this. Not anything from Vegas, not any of the lines, none of that stuff. We were on Coastal Carolina in this game, and they made it happen. Jacksonville State is just missing all their best players to the transfer portal. It's not going to be the same team as last year. Alabama blows out Western Kentucky. First and foremost, shout out to Alabama, hitting on all cylinders, looking the part, and Western Kentucky sucks. Western Kentucky, they tell me they're the second best team in Conference USA. I don't believe that. I don't. The talent is there. Tyson Helton's a great coach, but I think Finley and the loss of Malachi Corley is going to be an immense issue. They have no running game whatsoever. Their running back is not explosive, not impressive. We even bet his under yards, by the way, and we hit on that. But Western Kentucky's in for a long season, and Alabama's looking great. Alabama looks like Alabama. FIU, Indiana. I believe in FIU's defense. I said, let's take FIU to cover the spread. They were this close to covering the spread. They were there. And then they gave up a long touchdown run with 4 seconds left in the game. Something crazy. It was less than a minute, and they gave up a touchdown run, 51 yards. They just couldn't catch Elijah Green, and it was a backdoor cover. We lost. It was a bad beat, really bad beat. Shout out to FIU. I don't know how they end up scoring, but their defense is competitive. Their defense is good, and that's important in a conference where there isn't very good. There isn't a whole lot of great offensive players. I picked UTEP to cover this spread. They obviously didn't. Nebraska came out and beat the brakes off of them. I love UTEP. They're just not ready. They're just not quite there. They need to add more. They're not ready. They were competitive for about a quarter, but once you wear them down and the depth started having to come in, remember, college football, when you go and look at this box score, and you can watch tape, but I'll do this for simplicity for you. Do you guys see how many players caught a pass on offense for Nebraska? How many players got a rushing carry? 47 carries. Look how many different players played in this game, right? But when you go to defense and you start seeing this many players made tackles, that's a lot more than 11. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? A lot more than 11 players make tackles. So if you're playing your top 11 guys, but then you have all these other guys get in the game for tackles, that's why college football is really important. People need to understand the depth. There are rotating, everybody rotates in college football. The only people who don't rotate are offensive linemen and the quarterback. Hopefully. But defensively, defensive linemen, linebackers, defensive backs, everybody rotates. So the two deep really matters. They got worn the hell out. They got worn down, and Nebraska's deep. Nebraska has pieces that they can pull out and do their thing. They don't have that depth right now. The fact that Westmoreland got shut out didn't look dominant at all on tape. I was not impressed with it. It's unfortunate because he is the best player. He's the best pass rusher in Conference USA, and it didn't show up. There was a lot of guys on defense that were transfers, and they just didn't show up and make it look good. You have a FCS All-American running back only getting 3 yards a carry. I'm very impressed with what Nebraska did. I really am. Good luck. We're going to learn about more about them as the season goes. Obviously, this episode is about UTEP. I'm just telling you, UTEP's not quite ready. I still believe in them. I think they'll have a better year than people think, but it's a daunting task to play against Nebraska in the opening week. UTSA used to be in Conference USA. Obviously, they moved over to the American. Playing Kennesaw State. Told you we had to learn about Kennesaw State. So what did I learn? I learned Kennesaw State's competitive. I learned they're not going to quit and they're going to be there. They covered this spread. I still can't bet on any way on this game in either way. They told me there was going to be a different quarterback starting, and McCown kind of separated himself from everybody else. The one thing I was a little disappointed with was the lack of a running identity from UTSA. UTSA has great running backs. I probably shouldn't have done that. I didn't mean to do that. But they have great running backs. Robert Henry, Kavorian Barnes, Rocco Griffin. These three guys are absolute studs. And for me, Kavorian Barnes is one of the best running backs in the group of 5, and they just not really riding anybody. No workhorse. Maybe they were going vanilla for the game, keeping it, mild-mannered or whatnot, but UTSA needs to show me more. Speaking of needing to show me more, I'm telling you guys, Liberty isn't like that for me. When I evaluated Liberty on tape all summer long, I look at Liberty and I'm not impressed. They don't look very good. I know they're going to win a lot of games. They play in Conference USA. I know that. But Campbell has a new coaching staff. They came in last year, and Campbell looked great. I love the way Campbell put in an effort. I like the effort they gave. It was really good. I was really encouraged by it. I'm telling you that right now. This kid Brown, good luck covering him. But they still got it done. They're still dominant. It's just you play in scrubs. If they play out of conference, I don't like it. Middle Tennessee, speaking of playing scrubs, playing Tennessee Tech puts out some effort in the fourth quarter, keeps it close, or at least makes it look closer than normal. Remember, Frank Peasant here, he scores a touchdown to give them a lead in the final seconds. It's nuts. That's insane. They need a touchdown to finish this. And Peasant doesn't even want to be there. He's slow, not good, hit the transfer portal. Nobody picked him up, went back to school. I don't like where Middle Tennessee looks. I don't like the way they look, man. And I know they got Nick V at quarterback. I know they have a senior quarterback. A lot of people believe in these dudes. I don't like them like that. I don't like Middle Tennessee, and I know a lot of people are high on them. Speaking of high on somebody and getting it wrong, I was high on Rice. I was high on Rice. And my God, did they suck, and they got blown out. And it's unfortunate because a lot of MVPs bet on this, but this was This is not a game they should have been betting on. They need to learn how to read the chart. This was a talent evaluation, not a spread, not a lock, not a lean, and they still bet on it. It was crazy. MVPs need to slow the hell down and read the chart carefully. Nonetheless, Sam Houston still continues that path of the team we can't really bet on. I want to remind you guys, Sam Houston last year was supposed to be relevant and good, and they weren't. They were absolute dog shit. And a lot of it had to do with the previous year. They redshirted all their starters to save a year of eligibility. And then here we are. We're 2 years away from that experiment, and now they look the part. And that kind of boggles my mind. To see them do this to Rice, I evaluated Rice's defense to be very good. I evaluated Rice's offense to be very good. So I think Sam Houston's the second best team in Conference USA after week 1. I do. I think Liberty, and then it's Sam Houston. That sounds crazy, but that's how I feel. I went back and watched the tape, and I'm like, man, they might have something here. This Hunter Watson dude is a gamer. He's fun to watch. So it's remarkable, and I didn't know he would get the start. Then we're looking at La Tech. Fire Sonny Cumbie. Being competitive with Nicholls State is crazy. Fire Sonny Cumbie. I'm letting you know that right now. Shout out to La Tech. New Mexico State. It's crazy, but Southeast Missouri State is actually pretty good. SEMO, they won their first game of the season against North Alabama, and they won by a wide margin, a big blowout. So for them to come out here and actually have the lead against New Mexico State, pretty impressive. Go out there and play. But obviously McGowan starts taking over the game, gets it done. I don't like Sanchez as a coach, Tony Sanchez. And I shouldn't say I don't know him personally. I just don't think it was the best choice. And I think New Mexico State's in for a long season. Getting in a shootout like this in your first game against an FCS opponent should not be happening. You needed 13 points in the fourth quarter to come back. You're trailing. You're losing going into the fourth. It was wild. So that's that. Let me go over here. Games this week in Conference USA. Jacksonville State's playing Louisville. I can't really talk about it. It's on the chart. Middle Tennessee playing Ole Miss. It's not on the chart, but I know everybody's staring at that minus 41, and I don't blame you. Ole Miss. Somebody said it on the Discord. Who was it? Was it Sultan Swat? He said, hey, I just rewatched Ole Miss versus Furman or whoever they played week 1. We were on Ole Miss. I laughed. I said, whoa, they only gave them 40 points against an FCS opponent. They're going to score a lot. They scored 70, and it looks like Lane Kiffin's just running up the score and trying to get Jackson Dart the Heisman. And I don't blame him. Jackson Dart's probably a front runner for the Heisman. Ole Miss has an opportunity to be great this year, and quarterbacks on great teams win the Heisman. That's a fact. So Ole Miss probably going to blow out Middle Tennessee bad. I'm just letting you know. Central Michigan put up a ton of points week 1 against Central Connecticut, and they're playing FIU. And I love FIU's defense, but I don't know if FIU can stop a team that just put up 55 points. We're going to find out. We need to learn something about this. At the same time, FIU's offense, gross. Jenkins sucks. Keontae Jenkins not it. 2 running backs returning from last year are pretty solid, but not good enough. And it feels like FIU is really, really missing a star wide receiver in Chris Mitchell, who transferred to Notre Dame. But at the end of the day, FIU's got great defense. That doesn't score points all that often, unless you're Iowa, right? Sam Houston against UCF. UCF should win this game. It's a big spread. It's 21 points. They should win the game. Let's learn. Shout out to Sam Houston. Go play hard, bro. Western Kentucky, Eastern Kentucky, directional Kentuckies. This is your chance, Western Kentucky. This is what Tyson Helton does. He goes out there and wins this game and puts up an insane amount of points, all this stuff. I just watched Mississippi State carve up Eastern Kentucky. It should happen again. But if it doesn't, man, we got some problems. Louisiana's got a daunting defense. I watch it on tape. It's better than the stats. Than what the stats indicate. Like, you can watch a box score and not know how good the defensive players are. Louisiana's got really good defensive players, like talent-wise. I really like Louisiana's defense. They're playing Kennesaw State. They should win that game. No problem. UTEP, better beat Southern Utah. I got you, UTEP. Shout out to you. And then Liberty's going to go spank the brakes off of New Mexico State. They beat New Mexico State last year when they had a 10-win team and really beat them up pretty bad, even with Diego Pavia. They're going to win this one big. I see the 22-point spread. That sounds crazy. I probably want to put that on the chart. Like, that's nuts. Liberty should have a bigger spread. New Mexico State's going to struggle. Okay, so that's that. I'm going to go to the chat one last time, and then I'm going to take a break before we have the live stream tonight. Remember, we're doing Florida State, Boston College, live streaming here on YouTube. Let me go to the chat. Please, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, put it in the chat. TikTok, if you're watching, move over to YouTube. Put it in the chat. That's what we do. That's who I respond to. That's who I interact with. Shout out to you guys for being here. Oh, my goodness. I see a lot of messages from Villalon. Joseph Villalon, if you guys don't know, he's a troll. He is an absolute troll and a Texas homer who doesn't know anything about football, so shout out to him. He's a clown. Yes, he is. Will Michigan cross the 50-yard line at least twice? There we go. Master first. I don't know what that means. Joseph, I got my mortgage on them doing it at least 3 times. Whoa, don't do that. Your mortgage matters. Why don't you do NFL? That boy Gotti, first and foremost, I don't like NFL fans. I don't like anyone who pretends to know college football and the NFL. Listen to me. I study 134 teams at the FBS level, and I know every player in the 2 deep on every single team in America. You can't do that and study the NFL. So anyone who's capping and providing spreads and picks for NFL games, when did you study the NFL rosters? And if you did that, then I don't want to hear you ever talk about college football, because you can't do both. I know this. I literally study them 24/7 as a job all off season. It's impossible. There's not enough time. So I don't even think it's real. If I was to give you an NFL pick, it's based off of nothing other than, yeah, I think I'm going to go with that one. And that just doesn't work for me. My Sundays are spent doing result shows, watching back film all day long. I love Sunday. I haven't watched an NFL game in 5 years. Easy. I do not give a shit about the NFL. I will sit here and rewatch all the Group of 5 games. I got 2 monitors. I can split it up into 4s. I can watch as much as I need to. I got a TV over here. I can split up into 4s. Shout out to YouTube TV, multi-view. Record all the games in my library. Shout out to ESPN Plus. Can watch all the other games. I just sit back and rewatch all the games. And before I do a live stream like I'm doing now, I watch that conference's games in the morning. That's what I do. I wake up in the morning. I rewatch those games that I missed. Usually I watch as many as possible on Saturday. Ask an MVP, bro. I'm doing this. This is not a game. But I will not be doing NFL at all. I also think it's a one-way ticket to lose all your money. Dill, how many touchdowns will Arch Manning have in the second half versus Michigan? Well, I don't know. I guess UTSA didn't want to get too physical with their running game. Exactly. You got to be careful. If you go look at it, it looks like they kept it. But if that was the case, when teams want to keep it vanilla, they usually run and not throw. So I don't know what's going on with UTSA, but they came out throwing. Maybe they wanted to get work on their quarterbacks and figure out who their real starting quarterback is. So they used Kennesaw State as a game where they went out and tested their quarterbacks and treated it like practice, because they did not use their 3 well-known running backs. They're great. That's not fair. Klubnik could go play pro in Germany. I don't know anything about that. Good old Rice. Jamie Chadwell to Florida after this season. Sounds like a great hire. Is someone going to challenge Liberty and Conference USA? Please give me some hope. No, not necessarily, Dominic. I don't think that's going to happen. What I think is going to happen is they play App State this year, and we're going to probably see App State beat the brakes off of them and kind of give you guys an understanding of what Group of 5 conferences are, right? The pecking order for Group of 5 conferences is the American, which, by the way, if you didn't know, the American is the Big East. When the Big East was no longer a conference, when the Big East stopped being a conference, they changed their name to the American Athletic Conference. So when you guys wonder, why is the American so good? Why are they better than these other Group of 5 teams? It's because it's the Big East. Okay? So you have the American, who's in the past had undefeated teams like Cincinnati, UCF, and now Cincinnati, UCF, and Houston all lead to the Big 12. Those are American teams. Okay, now the American is still great with Tulane, Memphis, South Florida. These are great teams. And then you have the Sun Belt. And in the Sun Belt is where I see the good teams. Sun Belt, I love it. Shout out to them, right? Texas State, App State, South Alabama. There's some good teams over there. But to me, that's the pecking order. And then you have the MAC and Conference USA bringing up the back of the pack. And it's just unfortunate. Liberty's doing well. They're playing great, but they're in a scrub-ass conference. And we know this because when we see them play anybody outside of conference, it's not that impressive. It really isn't. They're beating up on nobody. That's real talk. Shout out to them. Yes, Chadwell, Florida would be something different. Love the content, Rico. See you on Discord for the game. Let's win tonight. I hope so, man. I don't play, but I hope they get it figured out. Liberty makes easy schedules, and Conference USA is too weak to challenge them. Maybe an upset against Kentucky. Western Kentucky, you mean. Don't say Kentucky. Don't say Kentucky would beat them 100-0. All right, guys, thanks for being here tonight. I appreciate you guys. Remember, I couldn't do this without you as MVPs. I love everybody. At least if you're an MVP, I rock with you. Thank you guys for making my life possible. And never forget, your friends don't know, but Rico knows. Peace, y'all.